In today's game, greatness is defined by moments like this. But before the era of Mahomes magic, there was a different time. A time where defenses ruled the field. When quarterbacks played with swagger, precision, and perfection. When legends were forged under the brightest lights, and the unthinkable became reality. This is where it all began. Welcome to the 2012 franchise, where history isn't remembered, it's rewritten. Alrighty guys, welcome back to another episode of ZA Productions, and today we are back at it with the Madden 12 franchise. I'm very excited for this episode. It's gonna be a great one. You know, my mic is better now, as last video was terrible. And if you didn't watch the last episode of this franchise, I'd suggest you do it, because it was a huge episode and it really covered a lot of things. So if you didn't, I go watch that. I'll probably plug it in right now. And but yeah, we are at the conference championship. There's teams that are going to the Super Bowl and teams that are still being decided on going to the Super Bowl, teams that still need to play. So we are in like a very good time of, you know, the franchise. So without further ado, let's just dive in. Alrighty, so heading over to LA, we had the Bengals and the Chargers facing off in the wild card. It was a very good game. You know, a CPU versus a user. User always wins. So the Chargers came out victorious, and you know, gotta give him props to that. I mean, like, it was a Phillip Rivers legacy game over here. So, you know, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio and 345 yards. Are you kidding me? That was a pretty good stat line by you. So, good stuff, Grant. But heading on over to Foxborough, we had the Titans and the Patriots facing off again. And just like last time, the Patriots user would be just getting effed, as this would not be ruled a catch. Cutting over, this is clearly a catch. I don't know how this wasn't overturned. This would nearly cost us the game, as they would get a touchdown 4th and goal with 2 seconds left in the game. They would line up for 2, and my heart was pounding at this rate. So I called a timeout and somehow baited them into going only for 1. I thought I was going to lose due to that, you know, missed catch. And like usual, Brady would have a legacy drive in overtime, and we'd be headed to the divisional round. And things were looking good over in New England. Heading over to Houston, we had an upset alert. The Broncos came in and beat them in a fair sim. So, you know, pretty surprising. I just kind of contradicted myself with saying the user always wins. And when you look at that, Tim Tebow had a very solid game. 278 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. That's pretty good. He outdueled Matt Schwab and his Texans by 1 point. So, good stuff for the Broncos CPU. But heading over to the Bay Area, we had the, you know, 49ers and Giants play, and it was a blowout. I mean, like, the Giants, aka John, he did not have a good game. He was throwing a lot of picks, just turning the ball over. So great season for him. He turned it around, and he wasn't really looked at as a playoff team at 3-6, but he did turn around to some degree, and you know, I gotta give him props where it's due. That was really impressive by him. So, you know, tough ending, but I'm sure I'll be back in the postseason. As for the Niners, I mean, like, Colin Kaepernick with a perfect passer rating, 158.3, 276 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. What else could you ask for out of this Niners user? This dude has been so consistent. I am just, you know, have the utmost respect for him. So congrats to the Niners user. You're moving on. Heading over to Green Bay, the Packers won on a miracle play with Jordy Nelson that I'll show right here. As you can see, this is maybe one of the most insane plays. He's not even running Hail Mary, nothing. This dude just, I don't even know how he did it. This was just impressive. I mean, like, it wasn't an RPO for once. All I'm saying is, I don't know how the Lions user loses when you have a perfect passer rating. This was the game of passer ratings. You know, Aaron Rodgers with 130.2, but 158.3, 5 touchdowns, 371 yards, and you still lose that. It's like maybe the worst defensive performance we've ever seen. So congrats to the Packers, I guess. You are moving on. Heading over to NOLA, though. The Panthers would be playing the Saints and lose on a game-winning field goal. Pretty heartbreaking for the Panthers, dude. He had a great season, so, you know, things happen, though. But this was the Darren Sproles legacy game, and was this underlying reason the Saints won this game. I mean, like, when you're allowing a running back to have a 17.1 yards per average, per carry, per attempt, whatever, you're just not going to, you know, have a good time defensively, and likely you're not going to win. So props to the Saints user. He really had a great season with Darren Sproles. But heading over to LA, we had the Patriots and the Chargers play, and it was an absolute mess for the Patriots. I mean, like, you're running man, and your guys aren't going to play well against Antonio Gates, I guess. I really didn't have much of a chance to win. I just kind of gave up. I'm going to be honest. You know, I'm kind of being a sore loser right now, but I think my team just Didn't give me multiple chances to win. Just missed blocks. Look at 12. He's just unblocked for whatever reason. So Chargers are moving on. Heading over to Baltimore, the 1-seeded Ravens will be facing the Broncos CPU and pull this game out by 1 point. I mean, like, the Broncos in 1-point games, am I right? So that's insane. Congrats to the Ravens user on winning a fair sim. I will say no performances really stuck out this game at all. I mean, like, this was a terrible game for all players involved, except for defense. Heading over to Philly, unfortunately the Eagles would just beat the living hell out of the Saints. You know, you hate to see it if you're a #1 Eagles hater, and that's who I am. I mean, like, the Eagles defense was unreal in this game. It was just shutting down everything. Slips right here, but doesn't matter. He's gonna get a solid return. He would not house this one. He get chased down, but Michael Vick with 4 seconds left, and you're running a QB run. Classless. Heading over to the Bay now. You know, we had a Mickey Mouse Green Bay team heading over to the Bay, and he'd win by pure luck. I mean, like, what is it with these users winning by luck? I will say this was not luck. I mean, like, I'll be a good boy and give him props where it's due. Look at this dot by A-Rod. Oh my god. He would cheese his way with RPOs, I'm assuming, and, you know, have an 11-yard per carry average and 2 touchdowns with David Best. So, congrats to you, dude. You're going to the conference championship. But heading over to Philly. Oh, look at that, Logan. And wow, look at that. You lost, buddy. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Here's the message you told me in Discord that I suck. Yeah, buddy, you just lost to the Eagles, and you were running RPOs strictly. So, you know, you can say I suck and all that. You know, I'm a bottom 3 player in this league. Look at what my team is built for, and look at what Madden's done to me in this league, you know? Whatever, I'm not just going to blame it on that, but my speed ratings are awful compared to yours, so... if I had your team, I'd be in the Super Bowl right now. Obviously, I'm just joking, Logan. I mean, like, you're a good user, so... congrats on your great season. I mean, like, you did utilize Greg Jennings, and he was a beast, so... I gotta give you that. I mean, like, you did really good with your team, so... Congrats to you, Logan, and all jokes aside. On another note, I don't know how LaShawn McCoy was the Eagles' leading receiver in this game. You know, that's why they're a Mickey Mouse team. Gabe, you cannot pass the ball, bud. All you know how to do is roll out with Michael Vick and LaShawn McCoy. But looking at stats and end of year stuff, you know, I gotta give props to all the users where it's due. The leading passer was Tom Brady. Leading in interception as well. So this Patriots user was pretty good, I will say. You know, that's why he got bounced in the divisional round. But also a big, you know, huge props to Eli Manning, you know, 7 yards behind Tom Brady for the league leader in passing yards. So that was incredible by him. Shout out the Eagles user. You're a great passer. That's why you're 1,300 yards back in terms of passing yards. Frank Gore and the Niners would be #1 in rushing yards, but I will give props to the Eagles user. As much as I've been making fun of him, he's actually really good at just what he does. So props to you, Gabe. You know, great season with Shady and Michael Vick. You guys were killing it in terms of rushing yards. Also wanted to shout out Chris Johnson. You're a future Patriot, buddy. And without surprise, the league leader in receiving yards is Megatron. He basically doubled what the third place dude had. So props to the Lions user on an incredible season. Sorry that it ended the way it did in Green Bay. Huge shout out to the Patriots user that got bounced in the divisional round. You know, having a tight end in the top 5 in receiving yards is impressive. Also wanted to give a shout out to Wes Welker and Doran Dickerson. You guys are going to be off my team soon, so I'm really happy that you guys did well this year because you guys are going straight to hell. Shout out to Trent Williams. You led the league in sacks given up. I'm sure you'll have a great career. Our league leader was Donald Butler. I mean, like, great season for this Chargers user. His year's still going. He is in the conference championship versus the Ravens, so shout out to this dude. He's been a really good sport, and even though he did beat me and had basically all the bragging rights, he has not said a word to me besides GG, so respect to this dude. The league leader in sacks is Jason Pierre-Paul. This dude was a force to be reckoned with on defense throughout the year, so it was hell to play against him. That's all I gotta say. So congrats, Sean. You did pretty good on that. But a special shout out to the Eagles and the 49ers users. I really wanted you guys to meet up in the conference championship. I thought it would be a really good one. But we still had the Packers and the Eagles, which was a really good one. You know, it was cinematic. These two met up again. It was a great rivalry, and this time it was just really fun to watch. It was a really tight game and really good. So whatever. Heading over to the interceptions though. Congrats to the Eagles, league leader, but congrats to Carlos Rogers and Navarro Bowman. Snyder's user was able to just kill it on defense in terms of turnovers, so, you know, Congrats to him. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed, please hit that like and subscribe button as we upload every Friday for the Madden 12 franchise. And in the next episode, we're going to have free agency go on, and we might be in the new year as well. So, you know, next season is going to be insane. A lot of these teams can rebuild throughout the offseason as they have a lot of things that need to be addressed. So, stay tuned as the AFC Conference Championship game will also be played, and the Super Bowl winner will be decided next video. So, yeah, without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.